right, fighting a rising chorus of doubts. As the days passed, I grew increasingly anxious. I had no radio nor any other means of communicating with the outside world. It had been many years since anyone had visited this part of the Stikine ice cap, and many more would likely pass before anyone would again. I was nearly out of stove fuel, and down to a single chunk of cheese, my last package of ramen noodles, and half a box of Cocoa Puffs. This, I figured, could sustain me for 3 or 4 more days if need be. But then what would I do? It would only take 2 days to ski back down the Bear to Thomas Bay, but a week or more might easily pass before a fisherman happened by who could give me a lift back to Petersburg. The tree planters with whom I'd ridden over were camped 15 miles down the impassable headland-studded coast and could be reached only by boat or plane. When I went to bed on the evening of May 10th, it was still snowing and blowing hard. Hours later, I heard a faint, momentary whine, scarcely louder than a mosquito. I tore open the tent door. Most of the clouds had lifted, but there was no airplane in sight. The whine returned, more insistently this time. Then I saw it, a tiny red and white fleck high in the western sky, droning my way. A few minutes later, the plane passed directly overhead. The pilot, however, was unaccustomed to glacier flying, and he badly misjudged the scale of the terrain. Worried about flying too low and getting nailed by unexpected turbulence, he stayed at least 1,000 feet above me, believing all the while he was just off the deck, and never saw my tent in the flat evening light. My waving and screaming were to no avail. From his altitude, I was indistinguishable from a pile of rocks. For the next hour, he circled the ice cap, scanning its barren contours without success. But the pilot, to his credit, appreciated the gravity of my predicament and didn't give up. Frantic, I tied my sleeping bag to the end of one of the curtain rods and waved it for all I was worth. The plane banked sharply and headed straight at me. The pilot buzzed my tent 3 times in quick succession, dropping 2 boxes on each pass. Then the airplane disappeared over a ridge, and I was alone. As silence again settled over the glacier, I felt abandoned, vulnerable, lost. I realized that I was sobbing. Embarrassed, I halted the blubbering by screaming obscenities until I grew hoarse. I awoke early on May 11th to clear skies and the relatively warm temperature of 20 degrees Fahrenheit. Startled by the good weather, mentally unprepared to commence the actual climb, I hurriedly packed up a rucksack nonetheless and began skiing toward the base of the Thumb. 2 previous Alaska expeditions had taught me that I couldn't afford to waste a rare day of perfect weather. A small hanging glacier extended